The trip wasn't meant to be anything memorable. Our department had just finished a brutal project, and management decided we needed a weekend away. Nothing fancy, just a couple of nights at a lodge near a river, somewhere far enough from the city that phones wouldn't keep buzzing. There were 7 of us. We drove up early Saturday morning and reached the place just before noon. The lodge sat near a slow, wide river that cut through a dense stretch of forest. It looked clean, maintained, and ordinary. The kind of place families probably visited every summer. After unpacking, a few of us decided to fish. None of us were serious about it. It was more about standing around, talking, and doing something that didn't involve screens. We walked down a marked trail to a clearing by the water and spread out along the bank. At first, everything felt normal. The river moved slowly. No strong current. No strange smells. The water level hadn't risen recently, and the river was unusually calm. It was quiet, broken only by insects and the sound of water moving around rocks. I was the 3rd person to cast my line. A few minutes passed with nothing happening. Then someone upstream said he'd caught something heavy. We all assumed it was a large fish. He leaned back, bracing himself, struggling more than you'd expect. The line didn't fight like a fish, though. There was no sudden pull, no change in direction. Just wait. When he finally pulled it close enough to see, he froze. He didn't scream. He didn't drop the rod. He just stared at what had surfaced near the bank. From where I stood, I couldn't see it clearly. Just something pale and rounded, tangled in the line, drifting half submerged. Then he stepped backward and stumbled. We rushed over, thinking he'd slipped or lost his balance. Someone pulled the line out of the water while another knelt beside him. That's when I saw it clearly. It was a human skull, not fresh, no tissue. Darkened and smooth in places from time in the water. The lower jaw was missing. The river moved around it gently, as if it were just another stone. No one spoke for several seconds. Then someone dropped the line. We dragged our co-worker away from the water and tried to steady him. He was breathing fast, eyes wide, unfocused. His eyes fluttered briefly, then fixed on nothing. Another guy, standing nearby, suddenly sat down hard, like his legs had given out. He didn't faint. He just stared at the river and said quietly, "That shouldn't be here." We decided to leave immediately. No discussion, no argument. We head back toward the lodge while someone else tried calling emergency services. Reception was poor, but the call eventually went through. While we waited, I noticed something that bothered me more than the skull itself. The trail we'd walked down was marked, maintained, clearly meant for visitors. There were no warning signs, no closures, nothing to suggest the area was dangerous or restricted. When authorities arrived later that afternoon, they took statements and secured the riverbank. They didn't tell us much, just that remains sometimes surfaced after heavy weather. Old cases, nothing recent, nothing they were looking into. They said it in a way that suggested we shouldn't ask questions. We went back to the lodge and packed up early. No one suggested staying the night. On the drive home, nobody talked. That night, I didn't dream, but I didn't sleep either. I lay awake with the sense that we'd interrupted something, not discovered it, not uncovered it, just noticed it when we weren't supposed to. Over the next few days, things felt off in small ways. The co-worker who found the skull kept smelling damp earth in places where it didn't make sense. His car, his office, the hallway outside his apartment. As for me, I started waking up at odd hours with the feeling that I was standing somewhere open and quiet, even though I was still in bed. No images, no faces, just the sense of being near something that didn't care whether it was seen. None of us ever talked about the trip again. The company never mentioned it. No follow-up emails, no wellness checks. It was like the weekend had been quietly erased. Months later, I looked up the lodge. It was still operating. The river was still listed as a feature, and the trail was still open. Sometimes I wonder how many people have stood in that same spot, casting lines into the water, expecting something alive to pull back. And how many of them felt that same moment of confusion, when the weight on the line didn't resist, didn't struggle, and didn't belong to anything that could swim.